welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me, who is Oduba?
Oh, John. Oduba has been through many, many guises. But today, I recently changed this on my Instagram profile because I think a lot of us are quite. I was listening to something that reminded us that a lot of us are quite obsessed with title, status, taglines. We kind of put it on our profiles as our biogs. I am this. And I actually tried to change it from actor to, what did I try to change it to? The postman or something, because I wanted to suggest that I'm a much more service-based these days. But what I changed it to was work in progress with emphasis on the work. That's me right now. I am at work trying to figure out what I'm doing here and why. And it's been really revealing. It's given me a whole new lease of life.
There's a humbleness about you. And I'm not saying that humbleness wouldn't have been there, but I can feel you're in a real period of curiosity and sort of finding yourself more.
Well, you are spot on there, John, because I found myself at a point in my life where I had to be prepared to lose everything in order to save myself. And when you find yourself at that point, you realize that nothing matters other than your purpose, in my case, my kids, and living your true, authentic self. I started very much at the bottom about 18, 12 months ago.
And that was that deliberate? Was that almost sort of forced on you? Because there's a real strength in your vulnerability by saying that. You're a powerful, great presence of a human being sitting here, but there's a real vulnerability there.
Thank you. The journey, I guess, when did I find out? It was kind of forced, really, when my dad died. My dad died October 2023. And in the process of our mourning and our grieving and our going to the funeral back in Nigeria where he lived, I realized I'd lived my entire life to that point in fear. Crippling fear. And if you had asked me as an adult, seemingly conscious about what I was doing, where I was in my life, if you had ever asked me, what is the thing you're most afraid of? And I have a terrible fear of birds, by the way. And that always would have been top of the list. But the true answer I would have given was failure. That I was terrified of failure. And it came from our upbringing. And it definitely came from my dad. And whilst we grieved him, and he was a very incredible man in so many ways, but I went back to Nigeria. We went back for the funeral. And I walked through the house that we went back to as children, I think for the last time in 2000. And it was like walking hand in hand, viscerally, with the 15-year-old me. The only difference was I'm now 38 with 2 children of my own. And I could see through the lens of that kid that was me exactly how trodden, how defeated, how terrified I was. And for the first time I went, that shouldn't have happened. It's okay. And I began immediately, the lift happened. And I went, I get to start again now. And so for the first time I was able to look at my life as it was now, go, oh, okay, things have got to change. And I started pressing some red buttons in my life, some self-destruct buttons, because I knew that I couldn't carry on as it was.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're very welcome.
You can feel that as well. There's huge amount of sort of engineering your life from a perspective point of view of looking who you were, how you've been behaving, to then making definitive changes. And probably far more present with it.
Oh gosh. What is it about self-awareness? You find out that, we are products of our past and every experience that we've ever had, right? And you realize that what you're doing today is as a direct correlation of something that's happened to you, whether it was yesterday or 10 years ago. And there are points in my life, my adult life, again, thinking very present, thinking very much in control of what's going on. childhood was just bursting its way through me. And there are a number of episodes that have happened with my children, my family, that were destructive. And as soon as I began to see where I had come from and the person that I am now, as a result of all of those experiences and kind of understanding who I am today, everything changed because I wasn't living my life presently because of past experiences. I became so aware of the person that I am because of the person I was yesterday. And that began changing every single relationship that I have in my entire life. And it is so liberating.
Can feel that.
So liberating.
What are the biggest changes you'd make? Because to go through what clearly have been traumatic, destructive experiences and behavior, you're now using that as a negative, you like, as a positive to be a better version of yourself. What have you changed?
Everything.
It's complete, like, hard stop.
Carte blanche. I don't really recognize anything that went before. Now, there was a big family change. My wife and I split up 12 months ago. And the life before that to the life that I've grown into are just completely, they are entirely different. There's nothing, there are no similarities to whatsoever, other than me kind of as in body. And I guess I found myself going, I have to find a way out of this. And it was definitely painful. It was definitely confusing. And I found myself just wanting to learn more, wanting to know more. I've been doing therapy since 2023, trying to uncover this stuff. And with that, just reading, listening,
Seeking knowledge.
seeking knowledge. There's so much of it out there. There is an abundance of knowledge. And you get to a point where you think you know it all, or certainly as a grown up, because life gets in the way, you stop learning. And I was like, I need to know more. I got back in touch with my faith, my Christianity. And I'd spent many, many years post Strictly Come Dancing, John. I had been very in touch with my faith. I wasn't the best Christian, but I'd been very in touch with my faith up until Strictly Come Dancing. I used to pray every Friday night about the Saturday, just to put my best foot forward. I couldn't wait to deliver a performance on the Saturday night. Obviously, things went rather well. And Joanna and I came out and won that show completely unexpectedly. And at that point, definite career changes and some intention about wanting to go from where I was, which was, I had been so grateful to be there, but thinking I need to take a risk. I need to go somewhere where I believe I'm supposed to be. So I made those changes. Fun enough, at that point, my faith fell completely off a cliff.
The moment you've won post Strictly.
Unwittingly, unknowingly, I stopped praying. I stopped believing beyond, and this was all very unconsciously. And I think I started to think that I was now in control of what my life was supposed to look like. The phone wasn't going to stop ringing. I had to, I was going to look after my family. We were going to start a family. It was all on me. And that level of control started building and building and building to a point that you think that you're in charge of your destiny in your life. You think you're in charge of all of these people that you're connected to. And when things start, doing what life does, and you're not in control of it, it's going to start sending you into a spiral that you just cannot get around. And I think there was a point, post-COVID, where the authentic me would just start just screaming out, was just so suppressed and so suffocated and so kind of terrified. I had no idea what was going on. My life was literally going up in smoke before my very eyes, and I didn't know what to do. And as it was, as doors started shutting around me, and you had a wonderful guest on recently, Annalie Howling, who talks a lot about shame, and shame tends to narrow your perspective and bring your universe really small, solitary. You feel very alone. So a lot of the doors that I thought that were open had closed completely, and the one door that was never closed was the church.
Really humbling hearing you say that.
Well, and it started again from there.
One thing that is a constant with you is you are always up for a challenge. You're challenging yourself now, right? You're going through, it sounds like the last 18 months for you have been tough, but you haven't hidden away from it. You're being so open with me now, and I really appreciate that. But going right back to, sports as a youngster, to Strictly, you mentioned Strictly, you take that on as a challenge and you go and win it. And there's also other things we could name that you've achieved or you've done. I want to know where that comes from, that relentless drive. And although you're very open in how you're saying that you've bounced, you always you're always coming back. You're always sort of going forwards with curiosity and with drive. The energy's coming off you.
Thank you, John. Where does it come from? It's interesting that I've rediscovered being active and being physically fit today and in the last 12 months, because it definitely was something that as a child, as a kid, and I played hockey to an elite level, and I played rugby to a high level as well. That was somewhere that I felt, there was the best version of myself. And again, that fell away. I love the quote, and I don't know where it comes from, the idea of, can you remember the person who you were before life told you that you were someone else? It's something like that. I've absolutely butchered it, John. Um,
I've understood what you meant.
and at one point, just forgot. I totally forgot who I was. You're right. I've always loved challenge. I've always loved work. I think that's where I've discovered this work in progress with the emphasis on the work. I have always loved the idea of, I need to feel like I'm continuously driving myself on. I never like sitting back. There's always something else to conquer, whether out there or in here. And I actually think it probably came back. Everything comes back to childhood, doesn't it? And I found in my childhood, there were two safe spaces, the sports field and the stage. Those are the two places that if you wanted to find me in my best light, my best me, those are the two spaces that I would occupy. And it's interesting, for their reasons, and very important reasons, as supportive parents, mine were never there. My mum was a devout Christian. Church was a huge thing on a Sunday. Sport gets played on a Sunday. My dad lived in Nigeria. And I think from an early age, I found myself craving attention because I think I felt ignored. I think I felt unconnected. And I found these passions for things that I loved that helped me feel alive. And the people that I cared about most weren't ever there to witness it.
So where did your confidence come from? Because confidence to perform on the sports field, and particularly confidence to perform on the stage, that takes a lot of backing yourself, if you like. And you didn't have parents cheering you on, so that takes a lot of inner belief.
Inner belief and confidence, I think, is separate in this case, because I don't think I'm the most confident person. In fact, I've just come off doing a TV show just now, live, a different kind of stage, very much me. It's fully vulnerable, and I'm terrified. Terrified.
Terrified, but thriving in it as well.
No, in that case, in that space, exposed, felt vulnerable, felt unsupported. On the stage and on a sports field, I definitely had a belief that, and I think when you feel like you've got an authentic you that is being given the opportunity to thrive, that's belief. Confidence comes from that because you feel the competency growing. And I just felt at home. I felt at home in both of those places. And I find it really interesting that when it comes to, because a lot of people have always wondered where that pivot came from. I'd spent 10 years in sport broadcasting, and now I'm an actor. And it confuses a lot of people. But as I've come to realize, when you're in a team, when you're on a sports, and when you're in the field of sport, you're a team. You are your own individual, but you are a part of a broader team. You've got a shared goal. You're given a role. Your role is to do this. Be the best you, and that's going to help everybody else around you to achieve this shared goal. The other place that exists is on the stage. You're given a role. Here's the script. Here's what we're going to try and achieve. We're going to try and help people, change people's lives who are going to watch this. And in doing so, you're going to feel this unbelievable reward. Oh, and here's the thing. once we've given you that, you don't have to fight for your value. That's up to you to make it count. Because in so many other realms, and I've definitely found this in television, your value is based on someone else's perspective. And often the viewer, but often for the people who make it. And if every day your value is being determined by someone else, and you are shape shifting, people pleasing, and every single day trying to go, I don't know who I'm supposed to be today. Exactly that. I have no idea who I am. But in those two places, always felt at home.
I find that fascinating. And I'd love to actually open up the Strictly part, because from going from sports, was there a history of dancing?
Not one, John, other
I
than
thought you'd say that.
those wedding dance floors, couple of tequilas down, let's go.
So the decision to do that, backing yourself again, the confidence to put you in the public eye, to actually test yourself and see, that's an amazing attitude.
Well, I felt very fortunate for that to come along, because I've known many, many friends who've had annual conversations with that show and never get on. You're always in the mix, but you never get on. And obviously for talent shows, for television shows, bringing in contestants, it's always about the mix. That was the first conversation I had, and I was immediately on the show. And I had been obsessed with this program for, at the time, 14 years.
We've had countless people sit here and often in the conversation of what's your dream, or what would you love to make happen? So I'd love to be on Strictly, let alone win it.
Yeah. And I found myself on this thing that I'd always kind of, I already had a vision of me being on it, despite never having any connection to it. When I worked at Television Centre in my children's TV days, you would always get this amazing buzz. I always described TV Centre at the time a little bit like Wonka's factory, because when you're looking at it from the outside, you've got the fence, you've got the gates. You're always wondering what happens on the inside. It's magical. And on Strictly Saturdays, you had the audience queuing up. There was just an energy, a buzz around it, but it seemed so far away. It seemed so impossible. Who am I? I'm never going to get close to that. But that didn't stop me kind of pressing my face up against the window of it and kind of dreaming of being there.
Manifesting it.
I wish I'd manifested it, but it genuinely felt like just a dreamland. And so find yourself in it. You really feel like you're on the inside of a television set. I think it feels like Alice in Wonderland. I got very lucky with the timing of just being given the opportunity to be on it, but then also no children. I had a situation with my work at the time where I was allowed, basically the contract was, when you're rejected, you come back. I never came back, Joel. But I guess what I brought into that rehearsal room, oh, incredible thing not to forget, was the most amazing, committed, creative teacher that was Joanne. And immediately we had a connection. But let's put it into a football context. If somebody allowed you 12 weeks to spend with the best footballer in the world, let's say Cristiano, let's not get into the Leo Messi, Ronaldo debate right here, but for me, Cristiano Ronaldo, you've got 12 weeks. Are you going to take the opportunity lightly? Or are you going to want to be the best version that you
Give it
could
everything.
possibly be? Joanne had 2 years before that been crowned the world show dance champion. I was dancing with the best in the world. And I thought, I ain't wasting a single minute with this woman. So what we had,
She'd have loved you as a student, wouldn't she? For that very reason, she'd have felt you.
Exactly. From the minute when she was like, oh, what's going on? This guy doesn't even want to take loo breaks. We've got a mission. We took it week by week. We thought, there are better dancers than us, but no one's going to try harder. I've got no aspirations of winning the show. I just don't want to go home. I just don't want to say goodbye. This is the experience that I've dreamed of. And so I guess that total naivety, there was nothing to lose. I was a nobody. Chance to be on the biggest show in the world. What an amazing. And unbeknownst to me, I'd forgotten, literally, this is what I mean about life getting in the way of who you were. I'd forgotten that being on a stage, performing, was where I felt most at home. And so what you witness, for those who are watching, and people always wondered about where the tears came from, I was discovering a version of me that I had shelved
It's authentic.
years before. And I found myself going, hold on a minute. This is what I've been wanting to do for my whole adult life. And here I'm doing it in front of 12 million people. Let's go.
I love that. I love the way you articulated that. And if we bring that back, I know you've done Who Dares Wins and all sorts of challenging scenarios, but right back to sitting here together and this sort of last 18 months that have obviously been tough. What's the challenge you're up against now? What's the next challenge for you?
I guess the next challenge is recognizing that the work is never done, because there has been such a transformation in the last 12 months. I've grown more in the last 12 months than I had done in my entire adult life before. And so that, like, my brain is just fizzing with energy and possibility and excitement, as well as letting the fear and the trepidation and everything that has been a past experience, allowing that to flow through me. But it's really interesting that you should mention about Who Dares Wins, because again, the opportunity to learn from a group of service personnel who between them had spent 100 years in the armed forces doing the most impossible job. That is an opportunity that you do not get. People pay thousands of pounds to have that experience. And I guess without knowing what my life was going to look like, I found myself in it, ready to learn and to absorb. And one of the first lessons that they tell you about is be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And they send you through a lot of uncomfortable places. I thought I was going to die twice, genuinely, on a TV show. And what was remarkable was finding myself on the other side of those experiences, finding things inside me that I'd never known existed, finding potential in me that I thought didn't exist, because you get pushed to a place that's so discomforting, so uncomfortable, that you have to find more. And it's very interesting that, along with the idea that there is no honor in putting your life ignorantly or as a martyr in front of anybody else's, i.e., quitting isn't a decision that is made lightly, but there is a point at which you go, at what cost? And both of those lessons were enough for me to go, I think at the moment the cost is me. So if somebody wants to call it quitting, I'm going to call it, I'm actually saving my life.
And you're in control of that.
I'm
Whereas
in control
before,
of making that decision.
running away from fear was probably what was controlling it.
Exactly.
You can feel it's a very positive vibe, even though it's very vulnerable.
Well, here's the stoic thing. Going into every day envisaging that it might be your last. It's quite morbid for a lot of people, the idea of thinking that if I might die tomorrow, or my children might die tomorrow, what a morbid thought. But actually, the positivity that you have when you get another chance, when you have another day, when you see another opportunity, if you have, and having that approach to go, I was ready to lose everything. The fact that I have anything, my purpose, my work, my children, my family, the people that really care about me, everything is a great day after that.
It's because everything you're saying is positive, and yet it's interesting because that whole running away from fear, and sort of the people I've met and people that sat in that chair that have literally stared death in the face, they've beaten death, whether it's someone that is, an ex-SBS hero or someone that's been diagnosed with cancer and beaten it, they have a look in their eye where they're here because they chose to. And whatever they do today, this afternoon, tomorrow, they choose to do it.
It's intentional.
Exactly. And there's nothing morbid about that at all. They are living. They're the most alive people you meet. And you've got that about you right now. You are probably more alive right now than at previous times in your life.
Who are you? You're a tarot reader. That's exactly
I'm
it,
reading
John.
you.
That's
I'm
exactly
feeding. I'm
it.
feeding off you.
I discovered Esther Perel from my therapist about 18 months ago, and I started reading a lot of her work. And a lot of it, she had parents who were Auschwitz survivors, and a lot of her books, a lot of her work is about the idea that in that camp there were two people. There were people who wanted not to die, and there were people who wanted to live. And those two approaches were very, very different. And while we sit here existing, I found myself in a previous version of my life where I was slowly dying, trying to hold on to everything that was going on, suffocating under the weight of all of the pressure, the expectation, the control you're trying to wrestle from situations and other people, dying. At that point, and I haven't said this to too many people, John, but we are men of a certain age. And I was very aware that carry on that way, I didn't want to be a statistic. And I was fully aware that if I carried on going down that route, I could see myself going, there's only one way out. But I was aware enough to go, I don't want that to happen. So I need to make some changes. I want to live. I wanted to be alive. And that was the day I decided to try and save my life.
Fair play to you. Made a conscious effort. I mean, you've recognised you've turned it around, and you're a figure of really good health sitting here. You've got a glint in your eye, and you're clearly physically in really good shape. Talk to me about how you prioritise that. What is it that actually works for you to keep mentally sharp? And you've come through so much, and you're still going through it. It's a journey, right? And then what do you do to keep? Do you have a kind of a morning routine that you swear by that's good for your brain?
Well, yes. There's a kind of morning routine and a daily routine. A lot of my choices about how I stay healthy and how I stay relevant, how I stay healthy and how I stay present have kind of changed. There's an intention to pretty much every decision. Difficult touring because it's not easy to cook yourself 2 or 3 courses a day. But yeah, I guess Mel Robbins has been a huge figure in my transformed version of my life. She has a thing where she has a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 countdown, the 5 second rule. And as soon as I got onto that, it was very quick actually. I decided the alarm goes off, let's go, get up. There aren't enough hours in the day already. And so that was enough of it was enough of an opportunity for me to change how I started my day. And I guess, I'd found myself, what was it? It was May 2024. I found myself approaching 40 and thinking, well, this is inevitable. The knees are creaking, the back's going, I've got plantar fasciitis everywhere. Yeah, this is just aging, isn't it? And the truth is, I went to every physio in the country while I was on a touring job, and I just had no strength. I had no strength, no lower back strength. I had no glute strength. I had no thigh strength. I looked at my IT bands. They were like, these are shot, mate. And so I began, and I just started doing a little bit at the gym. I could barely run 9 kilometers an hour for 10 minutes without feeling physically sick. I could do a plank for about 30 seconds. And I just slowly started.
Rebuilt.
And as I found over the days and the weeks and the months, and I felt the transformation internally, it was nothing about physical. I didn't go, "Oh, I want a summer body tomorrow." I just felt naturally the endorphins and the chemical that was coming through me just made me think, this is so rewarding. I'm getting stronger. I'm physically getting stronger. And I'm finding myself going through pain, especially on the treadmill. And running for me as a bigger kid growing up was always this kind of Everest that I could never climb. And now I find myself putting myself through a very difficult run, jog, as slow as it started, every day, and finding myself going through that pain barrier daily just built up a resilience. And it became quite addictive in a healthy way. But I was like, if I'm finding myself on the good end of that, maybe I can do a little bit more tomorrow. And quite quickly, I found myself with a formula going, I've found a way to create the best version of myself. Now, I did a sports science degree. I couldn't tell you anything about the PT routines and physiology, and I only got a 2-2, John. So that's kind of gone in the bin. But I knew what was helping me get better in the gym, and it really was helping me from a framework perspective internally. And so, yeah, it just became, wasn't even a choice. The consistency made it completely habitual.
Consistency is the key there, isn't it? Yeah, and then building that habit. But you're looking fab shape.
Well, thank you. And I guess we've been through a really difficult year.
I can feel that.
as a family. And I was very ready for that to kick off a new chapter in my life. And it did. And I'm grateful to him for everything that he gave. Thus, I wasn't prepared to lose my sister.
So a necklace around your neck, right? Yeah. And she's with you now.
She's been with me every day since. John, my sister, was non-binary. They told us in their goodbye letter. They've been with me every day since. And what my sister did in choosing to find a peace in death that they couldn't find in life, that was strength. That was courage. And that was brave. And having gone through the last 4 or 5 years of their life and hearing about the struggles that they were dealing with physically, emotionally, when actually my sister did more living in the last 5 years of their life than the previous 32, and still made a decision that they couldn't carry on in this world. What they did for all of us in those last weeks, that's given me the strength every day. And my responsibility now is to carry that legacy, because nothing's hard compared to what my sister went through. So we don't know when our last day is, and the truth is there isn't time. There isn't time, so I'm going to make the most of every single second I've got left.
It makes me feel really privileged to be sat with you now. You're deciding what you do with your time and you come and talk to me. And thank you for sharing that, because I know that's, well, incredibly personal, but it's also a key driver of your strength now.
It is.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I really feel that.
Thank you. I can't say enough. You know, when you have been through something that puts life into perspective, your whole outlook changes. None of this stuff matters, John. None of it matters. But you can wrestle what is really important back before it's too late. And so that's what I'm planning on doing now.
Well, I look forward to talking to you, connecting with you, which I 100% have in this conversation. And I have so enjoyed talking to you.
You too.
I don't want it to end, but we're running out of time. But your vulnerability is so powerful. Like, it's formidable. I'm actually genuinely interested and excited to see what you end up going on and doing now, because you've done so much. There are things we've not talked about. Anyone can find out for themselves, right? But we've talked about some of it. But what you go on and do now feels like it's. I'm going to be paying close attention, and I'd love to see more of you.
I appreciate that.
Spend more time with you.
I'm in a phase of embracing the uncertainty. I have no idea what's next, but I cannot wait to find it out.
I have one final question for you. What is your definition of success?
Well, that's definitely changed in the last few years.
I was going to say that, and I thought, I don't need to say that, because it's probably changed in the last 12 months.
Well, let me put it this way. If the moment I stopped living in a fear of failing was the beginning of me starting to succeed, I think my definition of success is finding every day, finding your authenticity, channeling and remembering your own value and your self-worth, and really, really leaning and honing in on the things that are most important to you at your core, because nothing else matters. And the minute you start living that authentic life, if you've got that and a whole scoop of self-awareness, you're floating. You are on a different cloud to everybody else, and it's great being up there. So I genuinely don't know what's around the corner. That I've got some amazing people that I can't wait to ride that cloud with me.
Well, I want to be part of that.
Yes, John,
I would absolutely love to be part of it.
It's going to be an adventure.
Yeah, I'm genuinely excited for you, and a massive thank you from me, all right, for talking to me today. I hope you've enjoyed it.
I've loved it.
Thank you, mate.